Vanakkam. I am Ravindran, CA Ravindran from Salem. Today we are going to see a very interesting topic, willful defaulters of banks. Whether it is going to spoil our country, whether it's dangerous to the country, or whether it is dangerous to the bank. So everything we are going to discuss, because this is a base based on which you are to conduct the all kinds of audits, that is a statutory audit, concurrent audit, revenue audit, stock audit, credit audit, NP audit, anything, everything depends on the willful defaulters of banks. So let us see what is meant by willful and what is willful default. Everything we have to see from the RBI angle. Here, I want to tell one information to you. Whatever be your doubt, please put it in the chat box, and you can ask any questions so that I'll be in a position to clarify. And let me start the session because the time is 10:30. I'm going to start the session. And now this willful default is based on the RBI circular. RBI circulars, what is the main RBI circular? Master circular on willful defaulter is updated on the following circular, that is RBI 2015-16, DBR number CIDBC 22/20, dated 1/7/2015. Based on that only, everybody is doing the willful default classification. Why I have taken this topic? Because recent times, lot of NPAs are coming, lot of fraudulent activities are coming. Even a lot of persons have been declared as willful default persons. So as a chartered accountant, it is your duty to identify the willful default transactions. So for that only, I have organized this. I'm going to organize this meeting. Yes, sir. Yes, Gupta sir. The recording will be available in the YouTube. After the session is over, I'll share that to my YouTube, and you can have you can view that portion also if you find time. And now recent times, the RBI said you have to publish the willful defaulters photo in newspapers. For that, normally whenever anybody enters into the bank and whenever they want to whenever they are requested to execute the loan document, that's a special class there wherein you can you are permitted to release the photo when the account has failed. So this is the thing very much important. So RBI asked to publish the photos of the willful defaulters. So whenever you are going and seeing the audit, you have to see whether the bank has obtained this declaration from the borrowers. That is, in all types of borrowers, they have to obtain this declaration. Next one is, I'm going to see the willful default and fraud. All willful defaulters are not fraudulent persons. Please bear this point in your mind. All willful defaulters are not fraudulent persons, but all fraudulent persons are willful defaulters. So even becoming willful defaulters, that account should be termed as NPA also. Even sometimes quick mortality will also be there. So for that, SMA 0, special mention account 0, 1, 2. After that, only that account will become NPA. So even after becoming that account as NPA, when you go through the modus operandi, if the branch has found that that person is a willful default person, then they have to publish it. They have to declare this and they have to submit the report to the Reserve Bank of India. Even on account has become NPA also, if any fraudulent transactions have been identified, then the same thing, the branch has to report to the controlling authorities or to the head office or to the Reserve Bank of India. So with the opening remark, I want to say that all willful defaulters are not fraudulent persons, but all fraudulent persons are willful defaulters. And who is responsible to identify the willful defaults? This is a very, very interesting session because two persons are responsible for this. One is the branch officials. Branch officials or bank officials, during the transaction, they will identify that this is a fraudulent, willful default transactions. This you have to report to the head office. So this, because bank officials they are verifying accounts on day-to-day basis. So if anything goes wrong, then they can report this to the head office. Next one is chartered accountants. We are the person responsible to identify the willful default transactions. Normally, what we are doing, sir, we want audit. Please allot me statutory audit. Please allot me concurrent audit, revenue audit, stock audit, credit audit, and all kinds of bank audits. We should know that we are the another person to identify. We are the responsible person to identify the willful default transactions. RBI has come out clearly three things. One is, if any fraud is undetected during the course of audit, then the auditor is held personally responsible for the loss to the bank, apart from losing our certificate, facing our institute action, etc., etc. Then, with reference to NPA classification, if the auditor, that is the chartered accountant, due to some pressure or due to negligence or non-carrying of identification of NPA, the RBI has already started to issue notices to the chartered accountants for the wrong classification or non-classification of NPA. So this is another very interesting thing. So you have to be, your responsibility is fixed. So you are not supposed to take up the audit very lightly. Then another thing is, during the audit, you are supposed to verify the day-to-day transactions while viewing the accounts. If you feel that if there is any fund diversion, and if you feel that there will be a chance for the willful default, that also you have to report. Because in a long form audit report also, there is a special class with reference to willful default. So you are not supposed to give no, there is no willful default. So you have to apply your mind to identify that there is no willful default if it is not there. Otherwise, don't worry at all. You have to report that point of willful default to the everyone. So here, because few members have joined now only, I want to say one thing. All willful defaults are not fraudulent or not frauds, but all frauds are basically because of the willful default. Next one is, the RBI has clearly said one thing. What is the limit to report to RBI? So they say that only to report to RBI, the default amount is 25 lakhs and above, which is the figure outstanding as on the date of identification. It is not the loan amount, it is the amount of default. One. And even somebody can ask, suppose if the limit is below 25 lakhs, can we report to RBI? It is not needed, because RBI said the limit is 25 lakhs and above, you have to report it. In case if you find any amount is less than 25 lakhs, you have to report to the inspection team or to the person who has appointed you as the concurrent auditor, as statutory auditor or stock auditor. For them, you have to report. So there is no deviation of the reporting format. Only one thing, reporting to RBI is a must, is a mandatory one if the default amount is 25 lakhs and above. So this is one thing. And second thing is, banks and financial institutions, they have to report to RBI. So the limit is 25 lakhs. It's a mandatory one. They have to report and they have to furnish all the details. What are the details? If you look into the format, I'm just telling few items. That is, name of the borrower, date of sanction, types of sanction, purpose of the loan amount sanction, whether it's a fund based or non-fund based, whether it's a priority sector or non-priority sector, and what made the branch or what made the bank to classify that account as willful default account. So they have to give the reason and they have to report this to Reserve Bank of India if the limit crossed 25 lakhs. And who is a lender? So they say that the lender has to report. Normally the lender is, we can say that it's a banks and financial institutions who have sanctioned any amount, even if it is 50,000 rupees also. And even if the bankers, they identify that 50,000 is also being classified as willful default, they have to report. But only thing, only when the default amount exceeds 25 lakhs, they have to report to the Reserve Bank of India. If it is less than that, then they have to report to the next higher authority or head office. And this should be arising out of the bank. So any amount given by the bank to a person, this will be arising due to the banking transaction, and it includes off-balance sheet transactions such as derivatives, guarantees, services. It is very simple. The persons who lends the money, he can lend in funded basis and non-funded basis. Everything is being classified as loan, and the person who is giving the loan to the borrower is called as lender. And what is going to be a unit? Here, the unit is, that is the borrower, because the lender has to give to the unit, who are all called as units, individual, jurisdiction persons, and all other forms of business and enterprise. Here they use the word whether incorporated or not. So that means the registration is not a must to classify one account as unit. So unit is nothing but the borrower. Next thing is the banks and financial institutions, they have to report the name of the person in charge and the person responsible for the management of the affairs of the enterprise. So whenever they type it, whenever they sanction the loan, they have to report the name of the person who is responsible. Suppose if it is a proprietor, proprietorship is okay. And in case of partnership, the managing partner name has to be informed. And in case of limited company, managing director or the directors who have been authorized by the board of directors to look into the bank transaction or to look into the management. So they have to be covered in their report, and whenever they report this to Reserve Bank of India in case of default, their name has to be mentioned and their photos have also to be published. So now, willful default. The RBI has clearly say that the following things or following events are called as willful default. One is unit defaulted in meeting its payment or repayment obligation. The payment, in payment, there are three things. The payment means there are two types of loan. Let us take two types of loan. One is cash credit loan. One is working capital loan. One is term loan. Now, regarding term loan, there is a thing that the loans have to be repaid as per the sanction letter. So for each and everything, to fix the repayment terms or payment terms, you have to supposed to go and verify the sanction letter. In the sanction letter, we will take one thing. With reference to term loan, there are 5 types of loan repayment. One is interest plus principal. Second one is EMI basis, you have to repay. And third one is holiday period interest plus repayment plus EMI concept. The fourth one is bullet repayment, and fifth one is balloon repayment. This is with reference to term loan. And with reference to cash credit loan, as usual, every cash credit limit is a valid for period, has got a validity period of 1 year. That is, every year the cash credit loan has to be repaid. Even in the sanction letter, when you go through the sanction letter, there is a specific mention even in few banks, they are following this. So when you want the renewal of cash credit loan, you have to pay all the dues, all the amount. At least you have to bring the limit at least 1 day below the sanction limit, then you will be allowed to do the transaction. That is also one condition that is stated in the cash credit loan. So in case the unit, who are all called as unit, individual, all individuals, partnership, firm, company, LLP, everyone who has borrowed from the bank, they are called as unit. And when they default to make the payment to the lender, first thing they say that the unit has got the capacity to repay, but they fail in their obligation. They've got the capacity, but they don't want to pay. So that is one of the conditions they have stated in the willful default. And second one is has siphoned of the funds so that the funds have not been utilized for the specific purpose for which the finance has availed, or not the funds are available with the unit in the form of asset. Here, I want to tell another very interesting case which has happened to me in my practice. that is, has siphoned out. So the thing is, a person, it's an industry, he wants to buy a machinery, but when he wants to buy a machinery, he has to pay, previously it was sales tax, TNGST, Tamil Nadu General Sales Tax. He has to pay sales tax. So this guy, he doesn't want to make the payment in the form of GST. What he did, he opened, suppose if he has got one quotation from X enterprise, he has opened X enterprise in his name, because there was no rule that that is a system weakness. So X enterprise is a common name. It can be opened by you, also by me. So he has got a quotation from X enterprise and have given the quotation to the bank, and he has got the sanction. But the bank has introduced as sanctioned, and the bank has issued a DD naming paid to X enterprise. What he did, he opened a separate bank account. He has opened a separate bank account, and he himself printed the X enterprise invoice, and he has opened a separate bank account. That bank DD of that loan has been encashed by him. So he has siphoned off the funds. So as per RBM norms, this type of transaction is there, then that transaction has to be classified as willful default. This is a very, very interesting point. So whenever you're going for the audit, you have to see whether that invoice is a genuine one. How to verify the invoice? That is also another thing. So normally you can see the name, address, and everything, and there should be some GST number. Now it is a GST number is there. You have to verify the GST number also. And even now bankers, they started to ask for the password of that is username and ID password to verify the GST. So that also the bankers now started to verify it. And another thing, few bankers, they are going to the unit which has issued the invoice. So that is also there. So that practice also they are doing it. So this is a precaution that the bankers they are taking. Even as an auditor also, if you doubt that that invoice is not genuine, then you can go beyond that and you can ask the details only through the bankers. You have got no right to ask the client directly. You are not supposed to meet the client directly. And next one is not utilize the finance from the lender for the specific purpose for which finance was while what was diverted the funds for some other purpose. This is also another very interesting case. This person is doing a real estate business. As per the bank norms, there is no loan to be sanctioned to the real estate business. There are there because real estate comes under the category of non-priority. There are cases, but they say that bankers say that no, we will not sanction the loan to the real estate. What he did, see, for real estate, because he's a builder also, what he did, he opened a separate shop and he got the GST in his name. And in that GST, he said that he is going to buy cement, all hardware items, steel and everything. For that, he has given his security, he has got the loan. But whatever loan he has received in that concern, that concern name is Homers. That is the concern name is Homers. So he has received the loan in the name of Homers, and the bankers, they are given credit to the cash credit account of Homers. From the cash credit account, he has withdrawn the money. He has invested in the real estate. The only one thing what he did, he has served the transaction. He has served the interest regularly. And sometimes he used to deposit some 1 lakh, 2 lakhs into the account and once again has withdrawn. So this is called as one of the diversion of the funds. So he has availed the loan for the working capital, but he has transferred the loan to the other purpose, that is towards the real estate. And next one is disposed of or removed the movable fixed assets or immovable property given for the purpose of securing a term loan without the knowledge of the banker or lender. So this is also another case which has happened in my practice. The person has availed a loan of say 5 crores towards purchase of machinery. He has installed the machinery. Due to some problems, the transaction has, he is a failure person. So that account is about to be classified as NPA. The bankers pressurize the customer You have to pay, otherwise we will classify your account as NPA. What this guy did, he has sold the entire 5 crores machinery even without informing the bankers. So one thing we have to remember, because whenever you are, if you doubt, you please go for the inspection and you have to take the invoices of the machines. You have to go and verify whether all those machines against which the bankers they have given the loan are available. All the machinery should be there. If it is not there, then you can report. In my case, in this case, what he did, he has sold the machinery even without informing the bankers. So the bankers are the real, because they have created a charge on the machinery. So they are the real owners. So when suppose if the customer wants, he has wanted to sell the machinery, okay, it is also permitted, but you have to go and inform the banker. Then only you are supposed to sanction the loan. So here, the banker on inspection identified that the person has sold the machineries without their knowledge. What this banker did, they have informed their head office apart from filing police complaint, and this client was arrested and he has been classified as a willful defaulter because he has disposed of the bank's property without the knowledge of the bankers and everything. And what is the nature of willful defaults? If you have got any doubt up to this, you can put it in the chat box, sir. I am ready to answer to that. And view the transaction as a whole and not on the basis of isolated transactions or incidents. You have to view the transaction as a whole. And you are not, suppose if some 10 machineries are there, if you are sending the machinery for service, and for sending the machinery to the service, you need not report. Because you have to remove the machinery from your factory and you have to send the machinery for service. But you have to see the transaction as a whole. And you cannot come to a conclusion based on the isolated transaction. That is, based on one transaction, two transactions, you cannot term that party as the willful default person. So view the transaction as a whole and not on the isolated transaction. And the nature of willful default is the willful default must be intentional. That is, he has got funds, he has not utilized it. Yes, that is from the CC to term loan, they are shifting or transferring. That is another thing. Disposing of the assets without the knowledge of the bankers, that is also lead to the willful default category. So willful default is intentional and it is deliberate. So purposely that borrower is avoiding the payment. So it's a deliberate and it is calculated. So only to this extent, yes, if you do this, then we will escape. So this is a basic definition of basic classification or clarification given by the RBI. Willful must be intentional and deliberate and calculated. And diversion of funds. What are all called as diversion of funds? The first thing is diversion of funds. What are the things? Because if there is any diversion of funds, then that account has to be classified as willful default. So diversion of funds, where we can find. One thing is in case of term loan, the DD or payment has been made by the bankers, and it is only for the new machinery. And if it is a second-hand machinery, you can ask, you have to see whether that machinery is valued and whether the banker knew that he is going to buy a second-hand machinery. Let us take it's a new machinery. For new machinery, they are making the payment. And the machinery should come to the unit. So manager, he will go for inspection after installation. Whenever machinery comes, the borrower has to inform the banker, and banker, he has to go to the unit and he has to verify the machinery. Then after installation also, the same thing has to be conveyed by the borrower to the banker, and banker has to come for inspection. And in spite of DD giving, payment is being made by the borrower, by the banker, but if there is no installation of machinery or if there is no creation of the assets, then that amounts to diversion of funds. Where the money has gone, that has to be seen. That is, loan has been sanctioned, but asset is not created. That is also called as diversion of funds. With reference to CC, you go to the cash credit account or overdraft account and you have to scrutinize all the debits made in that account. Whether the amount has been paid only towards the purchase of the raw material or purchase of the finished products or some expenditures. So that is coming under the category of diversion of funds. So use of short-term working capital funds for the long-term purpose. So this is 100% it is possible. Because I can say that if you go nowadays, the machinery to buy a machinery, the borrower has to pay 18% GST. But you want to, even if it is a second-hand machinery also, you have to pay 18%. But the borrower, he didn't want to make the payment. What he did, he will avail cash credit loan, and from there they will retransfer or utilize that fund to buy the machinery, to buy the machineries. So this type of loan is that is called as diversion of funds. That is, you are getting the short-term loans and you are utilizing or investing in the capital asset. That is for the long-term purpose. Next one is deploying funds for the purpose for which the creation of assets other than those for which has been used. That is CC used to repay the vehicle purchase without sufficient credit. See, as per the norms, you are not supposed to open various bank accounts. That is, even you are not supposed to open the various bank accounts. So even in your bank account, if you avail the cash credit loan, then the bankers, they will not allow you to open the current account. So they say that all the transactions must route through the CC account. But this party, he wants to buy a vehicle. Yes, he will utilize the money because all the monies, it has come to the current account, cash credit account. From that, they will debit the money towards the purchase of vehicles. But one thing you have to see, if they purchase the vehicle, say if he buys a car worth of say 5 lakhs, there should be sufficient credit availed either before the date of purchase or after the date of purchase, so that there is no fund diversion. In case if there is no sufficient credit, then that amounts to diversion of funds. Next incident is transferring borrowed funds to subsidiaries and group companies or other corporates by whatever modalities. That is, head office, main holding company or main company borrows some amount, and if they divert the funds to the subsidiaries, then that amount to diversion of funds. See, this has happened in my stock audit. I have gone for one of the stock audits. I found that it's a very leading sugar factory company in Tamil Nadu. I went there. Then on scrutiny, I found that the loan is obtained for the purpose of some A unit. But on receipt of the money, they immediately transfer the money to their subsidiaries for some other purpose. Because the subsidiaries, they are doing some other transactions, though they are coming under the same management. So I have classified that amount of 40 crores as diversion of funds. I have classified that account as willful default. So transferring of borrowed funds to subsidiaries or group companies other than the corporates by whatever modalities. Then routing of funds through any other bank other than the lender bank or members of consortium without the permission of the lender. Yes. Here, I will get a very practical case I'll tell, because this is a recent case I have gone through and I have been consulted for this. And I want to tell that case to you because this will happen to you also, because to you means during your audit also you can find. So here, if anyone has got a loan, he is not supposed to open the account with other banks. But RBI, in the next slide I am going to cover, RBI has given permission to open the account. Here in my case, what he did is a transport company. It's a transport company. He has got he has got a loan from say X bank, and they did the operation throughout India. But this X bank has got only limited branches, and they are not having the enough branches. What this customer, without informing the bank, what he did, he has opened current account with all other banks, because if the lorry driver is going, they have to send the funds. Now GPay is available, but previously they have opened the account in various banks, various branches. But they transfer the main money from the current account, when cash credit account, to those accounts, and they have carried out the transactions. At one point of time, the RBI has come out with circular saying that you are supposed to open the accounts with other banks only after getting the lending bankers' permission. Here, that bankers said, no, we will not give permission. You have to close all the accounts. Even they are given time. So within 1 month, you have to close all the bank's current account. But because of this condition, that unit has come as, the entire transactions of that unit was cut. So they have become bad. So they are not able to repay the loan on time, because only when the collection comes, then only they repay. Because of this type of sudden stopping of current account operations with the other banks, their entire business became very bad. And now they have been termed as NPA. Even 32 notices have been issued, 13-4 notices have also been issued. And the case, and even their banks, they have taken the position. So sometimes due to the non-applicability of some permission made the customer, even though he is a very big customer, I think he has availed around 45 crores, they have been made as a default person. So this is a thing. So whenever you want to open the account with other banks, you have to get the permission from the lender. But what RBI says with reference to this point, we will see. This, they say that aggregate exposure is being divided into 4 components. One is exposure less than 5 crores. OD facilities, CC facilities are availed or not. Whether you avail OD facilities or CC facilities or not, exposure less than 5 crores is one category. And the exposure of 5 crores, OD facilities and CC facilities are availed. Exposure of 50 crores or more, OD facilities or CC facilities are not available. That is other than ODCC, that is, we can say that term loan. And exposure of 5 crores or more, but less than 50 crores, OD facilities are availed or not, but other than OD facilities availed. So that means other than OD facilities, if it is whether it is a 5 crore or more, or less than 50 crores, as well as if it is 50 crores. So they can say that 3 and 4 are almost one and the same. So what are the rules that RBI says with reference to this? Exposure of less than 5 crore of the banking system where OD facilities are available. I'll go fast. One thing, bank can open current account without restriction. So if you avail 3 crores from, say, Canara Bank, for example, if you avail 3 crores, so as per this RBI instruction, the borrower can open the current account with any bank. For that, there is no restriction. But only one thing, if the limit crossed 5 crores, they have to inform the banker that we have increased the limit beyond 5 crore. So we have opened the current account with, say, let us take it is Karnataka Bank. Then for this, please give a permission to operate the account. So the limit, if it is less than 5 crore, whether you avail the OD facility, where the OD facilities, CC facilities are there, there is no restriction, you can open the current account with any bank. Now, 5 crore and above or the banking system, now they say that less than 5 crores, now OD 5 crore and above, CC facilities are available. Whether they are permitted to open the current account, yes, it is permitted. Here, suppose if you have availed from 3 or 4 banks, so total limit you aggregate, calculate 10%. And open current account by the borrower with any bank where the aggregate is at least 10%, where the loan is available from various banks. So State Bank, Canara Bank, you have to add everything. You calculate 10% because there are three banks. Suppose in consortium, there are three banks. In suppose multiple banking system or multiple banking, also there are three banks or four banks. So you have to arrive at the total limit, calculate 10%, whichever bank has got the more loan status, you can open the current account. That is, this is the thing. The RBI has given specific permission less than 10%. If the outstanding limit, suppose all banks, if you add, everything is less than 10%, the highest bank lending, in that highest bank lending, the CC account and OD account can be open. That is, can be open, and other banks can be, you can treat it as only collection account. Suppose A bank, B bank, C bank, you add all the limits. If it is more than 10%, highest bank you can go and open. In case there is a main account is the highest bank, and less than that, you can open current account. But even if it is there, then that should be treated only as collection account. And remit such collection account to within 2 working days to the above mentioned account of 0.1 or 2. Is whether the limit is exceeding 10% or less than 10%. Then the limit which has got the highest exposure, loan exposure, you can open the main account. Other banks, you can have the collection account. But if the bankers, if they give the letter, you can open the current account with any bankers. So this is the name, this is a basic concept, but there is no restrictions. But all those accounts should be treated as the collection account. And balances in the collection account should not be used for the repayment towards the credit facilities or as collateral or margin money for availing fund and non-fund based, but fees and charges can be. That is, it's very simple, sir. If you open collection account, it should not be treated as the regular account. But that account, you have to use it only for the purpose of collection account. And non-lending banks are not permitted to open current account. This is a very, very important. So you can open different accounts only with the lending banks. Non-lending banks, you are not supposed to open the current account. This is the point, because you are going for the audit. You have to see from where we can get this information. You ask for the customer's balance sheet and go to the bank account, or there you can find how many banks the customer has the bank account. From there you can ask for the information. Now exposure is 50 crore or more, but where OD and CC facilities are not available, but other loans are available. So even BG you can avail, then term loan also you can avail. What is the rule that you have to follow? The borrower can choose. So it is left to the borrower. He can choose any bank as an escrow account. That is the main account. So he can open one account. It is left to the borrower to choose any bank. Suppose if there are 3 bankers or 4 bankers where they are wild, he can choose the one account as escrow account. And all the lending banks are part of escrow agreement. Terms and conditions are mutually agreed. So suppose State Bank of India is the escrow bank. Some 3 banks, say IOB, Canara Bank, Karnataka Bank are there. All these banks should be part of the escrow agreement, and they can open the current account can be opened, and the same thing you can transfer as a collection money, and this collection money can be transferred to the escrow managing bank. This has to be, the money has to be transferred as per the period mentioned in the account. This is a very, very interesting case, because one account you can term as escrow account, all other banks, but it is left to the borrower to decide which bank is to be termed as escrow bank. All other lending banks are permitted to open the current account, and those current accounts should be used only for the purpose of collection. And from here, they had transferred the fund to the escrow account. There the transfer, the period, everything is there in the mutual agreement that they have entered between the bankers. And here 50 crore and above, other conditions are no prohibition to number of credit in the collection account, but debit is only restricted to transfer to escrow bank. So any number of credits you can get it in the collection account, but the debit is allowed only to make the payment to the escrow managing bank. And debit can be, suppose if there is any bank charges or some collection charges is there, then that is permitted, but not towards the loan account. And non-lending banks shall not open any current account of the borrower. So here, there is obvious already given non-lending bankers also you can open, but you have to get, see, with the permission you open. Without permission, you are not supposed to open any current account. Next thing is this exposure is 5 crore and above, but below 50 crores. There is no restriction by any lending bank to open the current account. Where here, for if you have got a term loan from one bank, you can go and open the current account with anyone because there is no restrictions. So only if there is CC and OD less than 5 crores, no restrictions. Above 5 crores, restriction is there. With reference to term loan, above 50 crores, restriction is there. If it is less than 50 crores and exceeding 5 crores, there is no restriction. You can open the current account. And non-lending bank are also permitted to open collection account if the limit is above 50 crores. In case the borrower has several term loan, non-lending banks are not supposed to open the account. Here, if the limit is between 5 crore and 50 crores, other than the ODCC, there is no restriction to open current account. There is even non-lending bank also can open the collection account. So in my case, I have pointed out this because non-lending bank can also open the current account, but that party has carried out regular transactions. That is why they objected. But only because of the bank's wrong decision, wrong policy, the very big customer has failed in his life. So this is my observation when I went for the consultation, because a lot of people, they used to call me for the consultation. Even they used to call me for the NPA. I mean, how to come out of NPA, because they now recently few charters they are doing this. And I found that the unit has failed only because of the bank's wrong direction, wrong policy. But here, it is a non-lending bank can open collection account. Money from collection account has to be transferred to the current account as per the terms agreed from the non-lending bank. So you can open non-lending with any non-lending bank also, but that non-lending bank account should be classified only as the collection account. From there, you can transfer the money to the main account. No prohibition, as usual. There is no prohibition to the credits in the collection account, but the money has to be transferred only to the lender account, to the banker account. Debit can be done for the fees, but not for the loan account adjustment. Now, it is less, exposure is 5 crore and less, but no OD and CC facilities are available. There is no restrictions. Banks can open, just like CC and OD, banks can open current account and obtain the borrower letter from the borrower that whenever the limit crossed 5 crores, they can inform the bankers. And other rules are as usual applicable. It is a very, very simple, sir. The limit, I can summarize the transaction to the maximum extent. The limit is 5 crore. ODCC is that limit is less than 5 crores. There is no restriction. You can open the current account with the any bankers. If the limit crossed 5 crores, only the highest exposure bank you can open the main account, and all other banks, that is lending banks, they can open current account only for the purpose of collection. And non-lending bankers are not permitted to open current account if the limit crossed 5 crore, exposure crossed 5 crore and above in case of ODCC. With reference to term loan, other than OD and CC, if the limit is 50 crore and above, one account has to be chosen as the main account, and all other banks you can term as the collection account. All lending banks you can term as the collection account, and non-lending banks are not permitted to open current account. And from the collection account, you can make the payment to the main EB, escrow account. If the limit falls between 5 crore and 50 crore in case of term loan, there is no restriction. You can open any number of current account with any bank. Even non-lending banks also permitted to open. But according to me, you are the bankers, they have to give the permission to open the current account. And those accounts should be treated as the lending, collection account only. And if the limit is less than 5 crores, there is no permission required. You can open any number of current account. Even non-lending banks also can open the current. Now, other information with reference to opening the current account. This is very, very important, because it is, if there is any diversion of this, then that amounts to willful default as per the RBI definition. That is why I am going in depth. No loan is available. Any bank can open current account, but due diligence has to be carried out. Aggregate of credit facilities is less than 5 crore. In case the borrower that is from NBFC, FIC, cooperative banks and non-banking institutions, there is no restriction. Any bank can open current account. And aggregate credit facilities are 5 crore and above. All the restrictions are available. So all applicable. You have to get the lending banker's permission to open the current account. And next point of diversion of fund is investment in other companies by way of acquiring equities, debt instruments without the approval of the lenders. See, he has availed a loan from the bank and he has diverted the funds towards purchase of equities or debt instruments. That should be done only after getting the approval of the bankers. If that is done without the approval of the lenders, then that is called as diversion of funds. Because we are going to the audit, you have to see where that is, normally you have to see the CC account and OD account where the debit goes. If it goes to the supplier, okay, it's fine. If it goes for some other purpose, if it goes for the vehicle purchase, and you have to see whether there is a sufficient credit available or not. In case if the amount is being transferred to buy the equities or debt instruments, whether the borrower has obtained the lender's approval or not. If it is not there, then that account has to be termed as willful default. That is those type of transactions are classified under the category of willful default. Why I am giving stress or importance to this willful default? Because this willful default, if it is not followed correctly, then that may lead to fraud or that may lead to NPA. So you are going to be the chartered accountant. You have to be very, very careful, and you have to give a specific certificate in your audit report, bank audit report, that there is no diversion of funds. That is there in the long form audit report. Please go through that long form audit report in advances category. There's a specific class. And shortfall in deployment of funds are the amounts dispersed, drawn, and the difference is being accounted, not accounted. Suppose the bankers, they have sanctioned say 1 crore, but the borrower is able to give invoices only to the tune of say 80 lakhs. So that means there's a shortfall of 20 crores. So you can say where the amount of that 20 lakhs gone. So this is a very, very important thing. So shortfall in the deployment of funds, it is there.
Sir, I have a query.
Yeah.
Sir, there is a situation that a CC account of 1 crore has been sanctioned 5 years back.
Yes.
And bills were obtained for each and every dispersal, right? At the time of sanction 5 years back, the end use was verified.
Yes.
And the organization is having 10 current accounts with different banks. Now the situation is the CC has been renewed, but all the transactions are being routed through 10 current accounts, and only interest is being serviced in the CC account. The branch is not explaining any reasons for that. How to handle that situation?
Yeah, I understood your question, sir. As per the recent RBI circular, when you go through the circular that is there here, I think you, in that circular, to open the current account, you have to get the permission from the lender. So recently, the bankers, if they instruct the customers to close the current account. If you are not closing the current account, then you have to pay 1% penal charges. So that is there in the sanction letter itself.
No, but in this situation,
Sir?
no, but in this situation, the current accounts and CC has been sanctioned 5 years back. So
But CC account
are the lending banks supposed to make a request to the current account banks to close those banks?
The life of the current.
Or they can instruct the borrower to get those closed and route the transactions to CC account?
Yes, sir. My suggestion to you, current account has to be renewed every year. In each and every year, you are submitting your balance sheet. In the balance sheet, if you happen to see the various, just so. If you in the balance sheet, if you happen to see various accounts, various bank accounts, then this banker, they have to give you a specific permission. And in my case, they say that the consultancy, that is, they are the transport operators. They opened various accounts with various branches without informing the bankers. The banker, they instructed the customer, no, you are not supposed to open the current account with other banks as per the RBI norms. You have to close it. That means this lending banker has not given permission to open the current account. Here, okay, it's almost it is going on. Last 5 years, it is going on. And if it is clearly mentioned, then customer has to close the current account. And my suggestion is the customer has to give a letter in writing to the banker. Sir, I have please permit me to open the current account with, say, Dhanlakshmi Bank, and you have availed a loan from Karnataka Bank. So they have to give the letter to Karnataka Bank, and with the permission of Karnataka Bank, they are permitted to open Dhanlakshmi Bank. If the Karnataka Bank objects, then the party has got no other way. They have to, the borrower has to close the current account. This is clearly stated in the RBI circular. Amit Gupta sir, anything? Suppose even you can substantiate your experience also. Thanks for raising the question. And situation is transfer to subsidiaries. That is also I want to.
Thank you so much.
And that is transfer to subsidiaries. That is construed to occur if any funds borrowed from banks or finance are utilized for the purpose of unrelated to the operation of the borrower to the detriment of the financial health. Sometimes if you transfer, main limit is being transferred for some other purpose, and if that unit has failed, then the main unit has also failed. Even the transfer to subsidiaries is also prohibited. It amounts to willful default. This type of siphoning of funds left to the judgment of the lenders based on the facts and substances of the case. So, in my case, the very big borrower to the tune of 45 crores, he has given collateral security of more than 300 crores. He has failed because of the force given by the banker, lending banker, to close the current account. So this is a live case. When I'm taking a stand before the court that this is the reason, because only because of the banks have failed, but whether the court accepts or not, still the case has to be decided. And cutoff limit is 25 lakhs and above. So what is this cutoff limit? This cutoff limit of 25 lakhs and above, that is reporting to RBI. So first thing you have to identify willful default, yes. Then go to the limit. If the outstanding, it is not the limit. So outstanding is, if it is 25 lakhs and above, so that you have to report to the RBI. One can ask, if the limit is below 25 lakhs, then what is this? Yes, you can report, you have to report, the bankers, they have to report to the to the controlling authorities, and reporting to RBI is not required if the limit is less than 25 lakhs. And this is being fixed by the Central Vigilance Commission for reporting by banks, financial institutions to RBI. Then one can ask, who has fixed this limit? It has been fixed by the CVC and CVC say that you have to report to RBI. Only for reporting of 25 lakhs limit is fixed, but it can be lesser limit also covered. This is according to me. In use of funds, this is very, very important, because whenever any term loan is sanctioned, whenever CC loan is sanctioned, you have to be very, very careful whether the end use is being properly followed or not. So banks and financial institutions are, they are requested the chartered accountant to confirm the end use. This is a very, very dangerous thing. Few chartered accountants, they confirm the end use even without seeing the invoice also, even without seeing the machinery also. So whenever any chartered accountant has to sign this end use certificate, please go to the unit and see whether the machinery has actually come, whether the same machinery is being imported, or whether the same machinery which they have supplied, which they have ordered. So these certificates have to be given by the CA. So bankers, they want to play the game very safely. So it is the duty of the CA to before issuing the certificate, you have to confirm the thing. Next one is lenders have to normally they carry out the due diligence and lend only to those persons whose integrity and reliability are good. This lending, because bankers, they are ready to lend only for those persons whose integrity and reliability are good. They arrive at this integrity and reliability based on their previous transactions or based on their inquiry. And in use of funds, it is very, very dangerous, because the loan is sanctioned, say, for the purpose of CC, and if there is no stock at all, then there is no in use. So everything you have to be very, very careful as an auditor, and bankers, in order to escape themselves what they say, they are forcing the chartered accountant to confirm whether the unit has got the end use correctly. And based on the internal control and the credit risk management department of banks, they confirm that there is the end use of the funds are correct. If the end use are not correct, then they will be classified under the category of willful default. And end use should be clearly defined in the loan policy document. That means whenever any sanction letter is issued, the same thing has to be clearly defined in the loan policy documents. And end use, what are the measures taken? Normally, scrutiny of quarterly progress report, operating statements, balance sheets of the borrower, they avail it, and they see whether the loan is being sanctioned for the purchase of machinery, and they'll go to the asset side and see whether the machinery is there or not. Sometimes you go to the P&L account, there are maintenance of petrol, maintenance of vehicle, but when you go to the balance sheet, you find that there is no vehicle at all. Then they should have hired. One can say that they should have hired. That is also there. Then that they have to write the rent of the vehicle. That they have not done this. Then this can be controlled, or this can be identified by the regular inspection of the borrower's assets, which is a security. Suppose if any security is being given, and this can be identified by the regular inspection. That is why we have been asked to see the stock audit. So in stock audit, the loan is being given towards a cash credit loan towards a stock, and as an auditor you have to go and see whether stocks are available, whether invoices are available, whether they are having the paid creditors or not, and because you have to arrive at the drawing power. So regular inspection of borrower's assets also, you can confirm the end use of the funds. So with reference to term loan, end use can be done only for once. But CC, you have to do it every month. And periodical scrutiny of the borrower's bank accounts, normally very shrewd managers, what they will do, they ask for the accounts books. or the borrower, because they have got the right to verify the borrower's account books. From that, they confirm that end use of the funds are up to the bank's expectation. And no lien accounts maintained with the other banks. No lien account means the accounts, they may have the deposit with other banks, but there is no lien. That means the lien is only to the lender and not with the other banks. So if there is no lien accounts maintained with the other banks, then the manager or the chartered accountant, he has to see why they have maintained the account in other banks. So no lien accounts have to be verified by the branch as well as by the chartered accountant. Next one is periodical visit to the units, that is lenders and the inspection team and auditors. Periodical visits to the units. Sometimes they can say that, say, in one of the transport case in Namakkal is very famous for the transport and tanker lorries. They say that, sir, we have given the, we have purchased a tanker lorry, but it is there in Jammu and Kashmir. We cannot go and verify the tanker lorries at Jammu and Kashmir. So this is also another practical problem. So only thing is, whenever any vehicle is being purchased, you have to see whether that vehicle is there or not. Sometimes they say that they done some accident, there is no vehicle at all, but even the loan has not come because HP is there, but there is no insurance policy, no amount has come to the bank. So in case of term loan, all the units, whether it's a machinery or vehicle or building, everything has to be periodically inspected by the branch or inspection team. But if any specific work is given to the chartered accountant to verify the unit, you please go and verify. Thereby you can ensure the end use. And periodical stock audit, what we are doing. So we are going to the unit and we are verifying the stock, whether there is a stocks or not, is there or not. So normally in stock, total stock is there. From that, you have to deduct the creditors, you have to deduct the obsolete stock, you have to deduct the LC stock, remaining only you will be called as good stock. And that is called as paid stock. In that paid stock, you have to deduct the margin, then you have to arrive at the drawing power. So periodical stock audit, and normally you should know all the rules and regulations of stock audit so that end use can be ascertained by you. So conduct management audit. Now, only few bankers they conduct the management audit and not all. In case if it's a very big borrower unit, the bank conducts a management audit. Here also I want to tell one important thing from the professional opportunities. This type of audit is available to the chartered accountants. If you have got, sir, please don't scribble on the screen, sir. I think one friend has, two friends have scribbled on the screen. Conduct the management audit. This is also another professional exposure. If you conduct the management audit, then you can come to conclusion whether there is any dispute among the partners, whether there is overdrawal of funds, whether the partners have got the capacity to go for the further investments or not. All this you can identify through management audit. So the management audit is another area where the chartered accountants have got the opportunity to go for the professional thing. And the above said list is only illustrative and it is not exhaustive. You can add anything to this. What are the penal measures initiated by the banks in case for a willful defaulter? No additional facilities will be given by the banks because the RBI has got a specific willful defaulter list. That willful defaulter list, if any borrower name is there, then he is not eligible to get any additional facilities from any banks. And such companies will be demarred from that company is not eligible to get any loan for the period of 5 years from the date of removal of that name from the list of. So willful defaulter list is that your name is included in that willful defaulter list, and you prove that it is not a you are not a, that means you have paid everything, you have come to the regular mode, but for 5 years you are not eligible to get any loan from any financial institutions. This is a penal provisions initiated by the Reserve Bank of India through bank. And next one is legal process by banks. That is legal. Suppose if you are there, then if you prove that you are a willful defaulter, then legal process will be initiated by the banks against the borrower or guarantor. And foreclosure. Suppose if your loan has become bad, and if you have been declared as willful default person, then the bankers, instead of waiting for the due date of the loan, they recall the loan. That is called as foreclosure of recovery dues initiated expeditiously. Because if the bankers feel that if they lend the money for further period without taking any action, then that unit may go into bad. Then in case if they sold the property, if the borrower has sold the property without the knowledge of the bankers, then the bankers have got the power to initiate the criminal proceedings against the borrower also. Next one is change in the management of willful default. In case if the bankers feel that they want to change the management, they can do the change in management also. And borrowing company not to induct its board whose name appears in the willful default. Suppose if anyone's name is appearing in the willful defaulter list of RBI, and they are not permitted to be included in the board of directors of the company, and if appointed without this, and if the auditor or banker, if they found this in future, then they can direct the company to remove them from the board. And next one is, what is the general in penal measures? To place a transport mechanism to carry out the entire process of penal provisions, and penal provisions should not be misused. This is the thing, because if you are not paying this, then we will initiate the penal provision, that is by way of giving criminal complaints. They should not, the bankers are not supposed to go and threaten the borrowers also, unless until they are proved as a willful default. So the power is being given to the bankers to initiate penal provision, but this discretionary powers of initiating the penal provision to be kept at the barest minimum. Ensure that the solitary or isolated instances is not made on the basis of imposing the penal action. And guarantees given during the willful default. Guarantee furnished within the group of willful default of the company are not honored, it would be invoked by the banks and financial institutions, declare that the company is also a willful defaulter is there. For him, the bank is a beneficiary as cancelled the guarantee given, and that company which has been benefited out of that guarantee has failed to make the commitment, then the company should also be declared as the willful default. So guarantee is given by A, is a willful default person. B is a beneficiary. He has got the he has invoked the bank guarantee. The money has come to the B, and this B has to the B has taken the money by way of wrong information to obtain the bank guarantee. Then B is also to be declared as the willful default. And liability of the surety is coextensive unless otherwise specifically called in the contract. So suppose if there is surety is there, then he is also to be termed as willful default, because if the surety has not paid the amount, then he will be also treated as the willful default person. So liability of the surety is coextensive. And banker will be proceeding against the guarantor and surety even without exhausting or rehearsing the remedies against the principal debtor. This is the thing clearly they define in the IBC. That is, guarantor. So even without that is simultaneously you can initiate the recovery from the lender as well as from the guarantor or surety also. So this is another thing. And banker claim on the debtor of default with the guarantor, the liability of the guarantor is immediate. In case of the bankers demand the default amount from the guarantor, then the liability of the guarantor is immediate. So the guarantor, he cannot say that you have to first initiate all the legal proceedings against the borrower, against the lender, against the borrower. then only you have to come to me. So that is ruled out by the court. So the guarantor liability is immediate when the banker made their claim. Dear sir, what to do and handle if some terms and conditions are not mentioned in the, I'll come to Lokesh sir, 1 second. Refusal on the part of the guarantor to pay the loan of principal debtor willfully declared. So it is nothing but suppose if the guarantee is being obtained and if they have not paid purposely, because there's a source to make the payment to the beneficiary, but if the beneficiary is not being paid by the guarantor, then that guarantor will be declared as the willful defaulter. And these provisions are not applicable for all guarantees that have taken prior to 9/9/2014. Let me come to the question of Mr. Lokesh. Dear sir, what to do and how to handle if some terms and conditions are not mentioned in the loan sanction letter. Sir, Lokesh sir, one thing you have to be very, very careful. You have to carry out the audit only based on the sanction letter. Only on the sanction letter, you have to carry out the loan. You have to carry out the audit. If there is nothing mentioned in the sanction letter, you need not worry, and you can give this as a suggestion in your audit report. And if the activities of the borrower is against the Banking Regulation Act, you can give that point in your report, even though that is not mentioned in the sanction letter. And banks to inform the position of the guarantor at the time of accepting the guarantee. Suppose in case of the banks, they want to give guarantee, the position has to be informed by the banker to the beneficiary also, because this guarantor is a willful defaulter. Do you want to enter into the transaction or not? Everything has to be informed to the beneficiaries also by the bankers. And general, with reference to general, wrong certificate given by the borrower about use of funds will attract penal and criminal action against them. So even nowadays, for the end use, it has to be confirmed by the charter accountants. If the charter accountant certificate is also wrong, then you will also be a part of, you will also be declared as willful default, because you have colluded with the party, and if I grant the false certificate, then you are in danger. So wrong certification given by the borrower, not only by the borrower, even by the certificates given by the charter accountants also make everyone as a willful default person. And banks and financial institutions, they have to ensure the end use of funds closely. And in case if there is a willful defaulter, then the bankers, they can initiate criminal action against the principal debtor as well as the guarantor. And this has to be informed to the CIBIL, credit reporting agent, credit information agencies will be informed that this person is to be declared as a willful defaulter. If the CIBIL has recorded your name in the report, then you will not get any loan anywhere, anytime in future. And other points are, in case of government undertaking, the names of the directors need not be reported. In case if there is any willful default done by the government undertaking, the name of the director need not be reported, but instead that government report that the government of dash undertaking should be added. So they say that it is not the responsible officer can be declared as willful default. The entire government of undertaking, suppose which state it belongs, should be added and should be declared as willful default. Then direct identification number has to be obtained. So obtain a report of obtain to report the willful defaulter to the credit information companies. Credit information company is nothing but the CIBIL. In CIBIL, they have to mention that this person is the managing director and he is responsible. This company is coming under the category of willful default, and this is DIN, and his name is included and reported in the CIBIL. So this is a must one. And if you find any such thing in the during the audit, if you find any willful default, then that has to be reported. What is the role of the willful default? Auditor's role in willful default. Auditor is negligent or deficient in conducting audit. Banks and financial lodge a complaint with ICAI to fix the response. So you have to be very, very careful. So it is, if you are negligent in your duty to identify the mistake, identify the willful default, then your name will be reported to the insured to take disciplinary action. Next one is complaint against the ROR can be forwarded to RBI, Department of Banking Supervision, IBA for records. So simultaneously, the banks not only reported to ICA, they make complaint against the auditor with the RBI and IBA. And then this IBA, Indian Bankers Association, they circulate the name of the CFOs whose name reference is made in the complaint to all banks. So all banks, they all other banks on receipt of the circulation issued by the IBA, they will not allot the audit to you. They will not allot the audit to you. So don't do the audit in a negligent. And RBI to share the information with other financial institutions, other sectors also, MCA, CAG, everywhere your name will be popular. So here, auditors should not be negligent. If negligent, then the bankers, they inform the auditor's name to the ICA to fix the responsibility and take disciplinary action. One, simultaneously, they inform the Reserve Bank of India and IBA. And IBA, Indian Bankers Association, on receipt of this complaint made by the bankers, then they circulate, they include in the circular, they include the auditor's name in the circular and they circulate to all banks. And all banks on seeing that report as mentioned in the circular, then you will not be allowed, you will not be getting any audit at all. Simultaneously, the RBI, because they are reporting to RBI as well as IBA. IBA is second step. And RBI has already, if they felt that because of willful default, because of the negligence of the CA to identify the willful default, then the auditor's name shall be shared with all other financial regulators, then MCA as well as CAG. So auditor is when you should be very, very careful. You should not be negligent. And NU certificate is needed from the auditor. So please be careful before issuing the NU certificate. If there is anything wrong, then you are held responsible. And conducting internal audit, inspection of the officer branches and periodic review of willful default report to be submitted to the audit committee, because you have to do the audit and you have to conduct the internal audit, you have to conduct the inspection audit as per your appointment, then you have to report, you have to submit all your reports to the audit committee of the concerned banks. As mentioned, this sanction letter, this is what I want to say with reference to the willful default. I have chosen the topic willful default because of this willful default. The next step is fraud. Because as per the RBI norms, if any fraud is undetected during the course of audit, then the auditor is held responsible for the loss to the bank, apart from facing the other actions. So please don't take the audit very lightly. This is a caution I want to give to you. It's only a request I want to make to you. Don't do the audit very casually. You have to be serious before putting your signature. This is why I want to say today about the willful default. I'll meet you in some other session with some other topic. And if you have got any doubt, please put it in the chat box. Then otherwise, I will close the sessions. Location, I think you are satisfied with my reply. Don't bother about the whatever is there in the sanction letter, you have to cover. Otherwise, if it is not mentioned and if it is against the bank's rules and regulations, then that also you can give in your report. Any doubt, you are welcome, sir. Gupta sir, thank you. And you have taken coffee without giving to me. Okay, sir. Thank you very much. I am just closing session. Please be in touch. I'll send the messages to you because a lot of Zoom programs I plan to have in bank audit. Please participate. So even you can inform your fellow members so that they can also be benefited out of this. And this recorded program I will upload in my YouTube, and my channel name is Ravindran V. Or I'll put it in the chat box. This is my channel name. This is my channel name. This YouTube I'll upload in my YouTube channel. This recorded program I'll upload. And if you got any doubt, you please go through it. I also need your suggestions and directions to do the various programs. If you are very much interested in any specific topics, please send 770-840-4440. This is my mobile number. You can also send to this number. I will cover that topic also. Thank you very much. Nandri, Vanakkam.